I'm Allison. I'm a reading specialist and I help parents of kids who are struggling with reading. In this video, I'm going to explain what to do when your child is struggling with reading, they've been struggling for a while, and you haven't been seeing them make very much progress no matter what you try. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure to do that now, and then also hit the little bell so that you don't miss out on any of the new videos that I post about helping your child with reading. So first of all, I want to acknowledge that this situation can be very frustrating and stressful. You know that your child needs to be able to read. They have to be able to read to, succeed in other academic areas, even math, science, social studies, especially as kids get older. Reading is required for all of these subject areas. It's going to affect their grades if they're really still struggling with reading. It's going to affect their future, their ability to lead a normal life, to have a career, to be happy. So reading is important. Now, if you're watching this video, you've probably already been doing your best to try to help them. And so you might have some feelings of guilt, or you might even worry that you're failing your child. So if you're in this boat, my heart goes out to you, and I would love for you to just leave a comment. Just say me. You can feel free to share more about your situation, but even if you just say me, that will help other parents see that they are not alone. Because this can be really challenging, right? And it can impact your daily life. If you're trying to sit down with your child and it's a battle to get them to read, it's just putting this stress on your relationship. So I just want to acknowledge this and just please know that you're not alone. And I'm looking forward to supporting you through this video and other resources that I provide. Now, if you're watching this video, I want to commend you, right? You're not sitting back. You're not saying, oh, it'll just figure itself out. You want to get in there, you want to help your child, you want to give them the best that you can, and your child is fortunate to have you as their advocate. Not all kids are fortunate enough to have parents who are able to advocate for them like you are right now just by watching this video. So in this video, I'm going to share a lot of different things to think about and try. And, because you've already tried many things, there might be some things that you already have done, but I really want to leave no stone unturned and just present everything to you so that you can pick and choose and figure out what you want to do next, okay? So let's get into those things to try. The first thing you want to do is get all the information you can from your child's teacher and school, assuming that they attend school and that you're not homeschooling. So when you're talking to your child's teacher, ask for specific things or skills that they're struggling with, that they need to work on. What you don't want to do is you don't want to accept, just practice reading more as an answer, because reading is made up of so many smaller skills like phonemic awareness, phonics, different types of comprehension, sight word knowledge or high frequency word knowledge. And together, all these skills form a child's ability to read. But just practicing reading more is not necessarily going to fix the problem. So if they're giving you a general answer like that, say thank you because it's well-meaning advice, but then ask, specifically, what phonics skills or, what sight words do they need to learn? What comprehension questions should I be asking my child? Try to push them to get as specific as possible. Now, if your child has been struggling for a while and you're concerned that there might be an underlying problem or a learning disability, it is always better to find that out. I know that it can feel scary, like, oh my gosh, my child's going to get a label and that's going to affect them. But the reality is that the more you know about what's going on with your child, the better informed and empowered you will be to get them the help they need. Imagine if you go to the doctor and you've been dealing with this mysterious problem, this issue for a while, and the doctor's like, I don't really know what it is. Maybe take this, try this. You're not going to feel as confident as if you go in, you describe the symptoms, and the doctor is like, oh yeah, you have X, Y, and Z. This is how we're going to take care of it. That's exactly what a diagnosis is, if your child happens to need one. A diagnosis is just a specific description of what the problem is, and it allows you and the educational professionals to give your child what they need. Okay, so don't be afraid of asking for testing. And so on that point, in the United States, at the time that I'm recording this, legally, you have a right to request an evaluation from your child's public school. Now, private schools don't have to follow these laws at the time that I'm recording this. So if your child attends private school or if you homeschool, you will need to go to the public school that they are zoned for, okay? The public school that they would normally attend based upon where you live. and just say like, who do I need to talk to request a special education evaluation? You want to put this request through in writing and follow up if you don't hear anything, okay? So if your child, if they agree to an evaluation, and it might help if you give them specific reasons or examples why you're requesting it, they will evaluate your child, and then based upon that, they will determine if your child qualifies for special services, some extra help. So this can really be a good thing. Okay, so continuing along this theme of working with your child's school, you want to make sure that your child's school follows the science of reading. The science of reading is a big body of knowledge that we have as a profession about how reading happens in the brain and the best teaching practices for helping kids learn to read. Now, if you want help advocating for your child at school, with communicating with the school, make sure to check out this link for Rising Readers. I will include it in the caption for this video. We help parents all the time advocate for their kids at school. We, help you find out what's going on at school to help you make the determination, like, is this what my child needs? So make sure to check out that link for Rising Readers if this is something that you feel like you need. Okay, so let's wrap up that area, all things that you can do to work with their school, and let's move into things that you can do with them at home to help. Because we don't just want to say, I'll sit back and wait until the school figures it out. We want to take charge. I have worked in many different schools, and I can tell you across the board, all schools and all teachers want to help your child succeed, right? I'm sure there's a few exceptions, but for the most part, we are in this profession because we want to help your child be successful. At the same time, so many schools are under-resourced, they're busy, and so you might have to push a little bit. That is totally normal. Again, if you become a member of Rising Readers, I'm happy to help you with that. But while all that is happening, you want to make sure that you are doing whatever you can at home to help them move forward. You want to take an active role in helping get your child on track. With that in mind, the next thing you want to think about is making sure that your child is reading books that are at an appropriate difficulty level for them. Sometimes it's confusing because books may be classified as early readers or easy readers, but they're not. That's kind of a flaw of that whole system and the publishers and the marketing. But it's really important that kids do have the right books to read. Otherwise, if it's way too easy, they're not going to make a ton of progress. Like, we're talking like way too easy. But if it's really hard, then that's just going to lead to frustration, your child shutting down, and it's not going to help contribute to them moving forward with their reading. So that's why the right difficulty level of books is super important. Now, decodable or phonics books are very valuable because they target the exact phonics skills that your child is working on. So if you can find that information out, and I will include a link for a free assessment you can give your child to help find out what phonics skills they need to work on. If you have that knowledge, then you can look for phonics books that, address the skills that your child is practicing. So those are a really good tool. And even if something's not a decodable or a phonics book, you can test a book to see if it's a right fit for your child by having them read like the first 10 words and count how many words they get wrong. If they get 1 out of every 10 words wrong, then that book is probably a good difficulty level for them. It's not way too hard, but it's also not so easy that they're just breezing through it, right? There's a little bit of challenge. Now, if your child is like really struggling and maybe they're reading the words correctly, but it takes them like 10 minutes to read those 10 words, then that's another indication that it might be too hard. But if they are sounding out words and it's like challenging them a little bit, that's totally fine, right? That's where, maybe 1 mistake out of 10 is a good kind of area to target as far as difficulty level. Another thing you want to make sure of is that your child is not just reading every book 1 time, that they're reading a book maybe 2 times, 3 times if they're willing to do that. When a child is struggling with reading, it feels really hard for them the first time they read a book, typically. And so what you want them to experience is that feeling of, oh, reading is getting easier. I'm getting good at this. And if your child only reads a book 1 time and then they move on to the next book and it's hard, and the next book and it's hard, and the next book, they never get to experience reading as being easy. They need to experience success in order to get motivated to continue practicing. So make sure that every book your child reads, they read twice. Now, if your child is reading like longer chapter books, maybe they just reread like their favorite chapter or their favorite part, okay? But if a child is reading a book that's relatively short, or maybe just like 1 or 2 sentences per page, definitely have them read it twice. And you can make it fun by having them read to a stuffed animal, or they can read to your family pet or something like that, right? So you can find ways to make it fun, but you definitely want to make sure that they're not just reading a book once and being done with it, because that's not the best way to help them build confidence or reading fluency. In addition to having them practice reading books, you also want to be practicing specific skills with your child. Now, I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about the school and asking them what they need to work on, but as I said, reading is made up of a bunch of different smaller skills that we put together, because reading is a complex process, right? And so, yes, have your child read with you, read to your child as well. That's super important for building comprehension. Talk to them about the books you're reading to them. But also, we want to make sure that you are practicing individual skills with them. Kids that are struggling with reading often need 2 times or 3 times or 4 times as much practice with a skill as typical readers do. And schools are limited in the amount of time that they can give kids. Number 1, because there's so many kids, and number 2, your school will probably have set hours, and when school is out, right? So if your child needs extra practice, they're gonna need to get that outside of school in order to really make, progress forward and catch up. So that's why being able to practice individual skills with them is so important. One of those skill areas to focus on is phonics. So having them read and spell words with the phonics skills that they specifically need to work on. Again, I will leave a link in the caption for this video about, it's just a free guide that you can get that will really quickly be able to tell you which phonics skills your child needs to practice. And also, I have that free guide, but that's just the first step. And if you want the full picture of okay, what do they need to work on, phonics and other skills, and then the actual materials to practice with them, you will also want to check out my Rising Readers program. That's where we hold your hand and we help guide you in learning how to work with your child, and we give you everything you need to do it. It's such a relief when you have all of this and you have support from me and my team all in one place. So definitely check out the Rising Readers link if that's something that sounds interesting to you. But coming back to my point here, phonics, have your kid read and spell words with the phonics skill that they need to work on. And again, my free guide or the Rising Readers program will help you identify that. Next up, you want to make sure that they are learning high frequency words, words that appear often in text, like to or the, right? And even more challenging words like would and could. These are sometimes called sight words. High frequency words means that it's a word that appears often in text. Technically, a sight word is any word that a reader knows instantly. So I can read the word lizard instantly. It's a sight word for me. It's just not a high frequency word, right? You don't see lizard all that often in text. Okay, so that's the difference. But you want your kiddo to be learning high frequency words. Your school may have a list that they, want you to work on. If not, you can look up the Fry list. Start with the first 100 words, and then there's like a second 100 words list, and you can move on from there. And you don't actually want to have them just memorize high frequency words by putting it on a flashcard and telling them to remember the word and read it. There's actually a process that's much better for getting your kid to actually retain sight words. So I will leave a link for that video where I teach you my process in the caption for this video. So there's lots of links down there. There's the free guide, there's going to be the video, and then I also have the Rising Readers program for you. If you go for Rising Readers, you can skip the video and you can skip the free guide, because that has everything you need to figure out what your child needs to work on. Coaching, materials, it's just an all-in-one solution. But just know that all of those links are going to be in the caption. And then my final point is to make sure that you have the knowledge and skills that you need to help your child be successful with reading and for you to be their reading coach. If you think about maybe a sport that your child plays, if they play any sports, they might have a basketball coach or a dance coach. And when you're working with your child, you want to have the knowledge of what to say to them, what to do, how to challenge them without pushing them too far. And it's not at all hard to gain this knowledge. You don't need to be a teacher or have a master's degree. You just want to make things go easier for them, and you want to make your practice sessions count, right? You don't want to waste time. I'm sure you're busy. You want to make sure that when you're helping them, that it is having the biggest impact possible. So it's super important for parents to have this knowledge, especially when their kids are struggling with reading. And if you want to learn more about working with me and my team and gaining that knowledge so that you can be an advocate for your kid, know how to coach them, know what to do to work with them, understand what skills they're struggling with, have all the materials, then you definitely need to check out Rising Readers. Again, I will include a link in the caption. I would love to support you and your child. Supporting struggling readers and their families is my absolute passion. And we've seen results in this program that are so fast once parents have the tools and the knowledge and the right skills. It's just a matter of learning a few things, and then, you're really going to start to see progress in your child's reading. All right, I hope that this video was helpful. Of course, let me know if you have any questions. And before you leave, hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.